Well, like Eric had mentioned, my name is Alan Archuleta. I am the founder and CEO of KidneyPal. We're based out of Northern California, outside of Sacramento, in an area called Roseville, California. So a little bit of background about myself. About 16 years ago, I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. And, to this point now where I'm currently on dialysis. And as of yesterday, I found out, hopefully I should be getting my transplant done sometimes in the end of April of this year. So excited about that to get back to normality. But, along my journey and, sitting in dialysis clinics and just meeting other people with chronic kidney disease, I found that, there's a big struggle for people to get care, to get support. So I developed this technology to really help people, live a better life while fighting with kidney disease. So as it relates to the condition, typically 1 in 7 people suffer from kidney disease. So it's kind of funny, everywhere I go, even last night I was at an investor presentation, and the first person I talked to, he's like, oh, my sister had a kidney transplant. So it's extremely common. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know if they have a diagnosis or not. Typically, and we'll get into the numbers a little bit later, but there's currently 47 million people in the United States alone, and a little over 1.1 billion in the world that are suffering from this disease. And with the size of the number of nephrologists compared to patients, like here in America, it's about 44,272 to 1 doctor is the ratio currently. So you can imagine that a lot of people are probably left without quality care. So that was my whole emphasis in starting KidneyPal. So as I mentioned, kidney failure patients struggle to really effectively manage their care and to connect with their community and medical professionals. So with that, millions of people around the world are, giving devastating diagnoses each year. And unfortunately, there was no easy way to get help or support until now. So that was the whole emphasis with KidneyPal. We're really an all-in-one solution for care and support when our patients and members need it, not when it's convenient for their healthcare provider. So we do this in a couple different ways. So one of the biggest things that, I'm an advocate for with this community is really helping them be proactive with their health. Typically, we see in the medical world, people are more reactive. They get a diagnosis and then they're doing something, kind of trying to backtrack, where in this condition, depending on when you're diagnosed, for example, I was diagnosed, 2005. So there was a long period of time to where it got to, I was in dialysis. So I had the ability to, preserve my kidneys and, better track my health. So I designed a health tracker that's specific to chronic kidney patients, that they can track, their food, their medications. Fluid is a big one, especially if you're on dialysis. You can only have 32 to 36 ounces of fluid total a day. And then your lab. So they can really get a holistic view of their health and help better manage that by themselves and also with their doctor. The next big thing is community and healthcare on demand. So I'll go a little bit deeper into these. One, we already talked about, the health tracker. Community, I think, is going to be one of the biggest ones. I think this is how it draws most people in. Typically, what we've seen is that when people get diagnosed, they kind of panic, and then the first thing they do is kind of go to Facebook groups or Reddit community to try and learn more and see how they can help better protect themselves and manage their health. So the community, I think, is going to be a big aspect. Some of the unique features is there's multiple topics that they can choose from, such as, parenting with chronic kidney disease, men and women specific different topics. And then also we have this filter option, if you can see it there. So, a lot of times people get depressed. They don't want to see depressed posts. They just want to see things that are uplifting. So within our social media, I guess you can say, community, they have the ability to filter out the negative posts, or if they want to help people that are, struggling, they can filter out just those posts and, really zoom into it. Our future with our company and future launches is going to really have a healthcare on demand feature utilizing machine learning and AI to really help get access to healthcare for people, regardless if they have insurance or, when it's convenient for them on demand, rather than having to wait, on average 2 to 3 weeks to see a doctor. So I think this is going to be a huge benefit to our community, because a lot of the conditions too are very repetitive. So, as a new person comes on, they're experiencing things for the first time, but they're very common scenarios for people with chronic kidney disease. So being able to know that and build resources for people to quickly get answers to their questions to help, reduce their anxiety and help them live a better life. Also, I always tell people there's two things that, we can really focus on to help control the length of and health of their kidneys. The two things that affect it are stress through hypertension, and then what you put in your body. So sometimes I really can't help you with your stress, but what I can do is help you with what you put in your body. So we've been working with a local meal subscription service to design renal specific meals for our community, where they can buy into healthy, fresh meals that are delivered right to their door, especially for a lot of the community that unfortunately, due to diabetes, has had limbs, amputated and stuff. It makes it very difficult for them to get around. This is easy, pop it in the microwave, everything's fresh and quality ingredients. So I think this is going to be a great value add to our platform, and another way for us to generate great revenue. So the market we kind of talked about a little bit. Globally, there's almost 1.1 billion patients, but here in America, there's 37 million patients, and new ones coming every single day. So our mission really is to help all the people with renal disease experience better healthcare and support through our app. And, the reason why we started it really was from my journey, but also that most of the patients say they receive more information from going online and searching themselves. And a lot of people get, miscommunicated information. For example, in Facebook groups that, I've been active in the past, every time somebody posts something, I would see 50 to 100 responses within, probably 24 hours. As a person that's new to this condition, what do you listen to? If there's so conflicting, information that's coming down to the pipe, what do you trust? What don't you trust? So that's what our real goal is to be the most trusted source and really own every corner of this market, with the exception of dialysis long term. So our timeline, we're currently in the development of our beta is pretty much done. We're in the process of doing our user testing launch. What we're doing with that is we've did an agreement with an administrator of a Facebook group that has about 8,000 members, and we're converting that over to our platform for test users. And then, once we're completed with the beta launch, then we're going to launch to the public. So as I mentioned, that we currently have about 8,000 members in that group. Majority of all the people are willing to pay for it. Our initial for the community and the trackers is going to be $199 a month, but once we get the healthcare on demand, it's probably going to be similar to a monthly copay of $15 to $20 a month. We did start a podcast as well to do an inbound marketing strategy. Within the first couple of weeks, we already have more than 50 subscribers, which is great. So there's a lot of people out there looking for information and help in this element. So one of the bigger developments as well is I've been working with DaVita and Fresenius, who own 80% of the kidney care market. DaVita, as a patient to them, I kind of went up to their executive chain and talked to them. So we're in the middle of discussions of figuring out how we can do a pilot project through all their dialysis centers. They have about 200,000 patients across the US. So that's very exciting for us, especially getting this type of traction this early on. So our monetization strategy really comes in a couple different areas, sponsorships, the app membership, of course, and then, access to specialists in the long term. So our fundraising currently, we're raising a $500,000 convertible note on a $5 million cap with a 20% discount. I know this is not an investor presentation, but the slide was left in there. And then, our next steps is really to, really focus on our beta user test, migrating the Facebook groups and further developing our partnerships. So with that, that's in the presentation. One thing I didn't add in there too is our team. So I am the primary founder. I am in discussions with a co-founder CTO who was an early employee of WebEx and then Cisco, and as well as a chief product officer from Qualcomm Telehealth. So, I'm continuing to build the team. We have a ton of advisors, which include nephrologists, vascular surgeons, dietitians, renal dietitians from Dignity Healthcare, DaVita, et cetera. So, really focused on building a world-class team and just really transforming this space.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Alan. This is really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for the work that you do. There's a lot of people out there that still probably need to find you, of course, but it's exciting that you're actually on this journey. So let's get to first few questions here from Eric. Is this an aggregator of kidney-related information, or does it offer access to physicians like telehealth? And it sounds like you're kind of in stages on that, but if you can maybe share a little bit more.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So right now, just to kind of the early phases is the community and the trackers. Long term, what I want to get to is a platform called KidneyPal Health, where we'll have different, nephrologists, renal dietitians, mental health professionals that are coming on as members and having access to our membership to be able to provide care. And then with that, from a monetization strategy, we get a membership and a I guess you can call it administrative fee for access to the members. So I think, one of the big things that we see in this space that I hear a lot of complaints about is the quality of care from doctors, how their bedside manner is horrible. They get 2 minutes a month. So part of that is really helping educate doctors on the best approach with patients and helping them better understand how to manage that care. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the ratio is like, one doctor to 4,300 patients. I'm sure they're extremely burned out and they're, ripping their hair out because nephrology is not probably one of the most sexual or sexy, types of medicine. Everybody wants to be a neurosurgeon or an anesthesiologist or something like that. So, I'm really trying to just kind of level the curve and help more people get access to quality care.
So that actually brings up a really good point. You're going to be collecting a lot of what we'll call metadata, right? A lot of aggregate data on people that have renal disease or have interest in that. And that itself could be monetizable as well, because you can help physicians and healthcare providers and people like that make better decisions or use that data for good purposes. So that's just another, I don't know if have you considered that using?
So that is, part of our long-term monetization strategy. I just, instead of just having chunks of raw data, I really want to understand how we can best, configure that data for researchers and different platforms to, from healthcare insurance to, the researchers and the kidney disease space. All this data can really help them. So it's just, I just want to better understand the data and how we can use that to help.
Perfect. Eric has another question also. Are you handling your own meal delivery, or are you outsourcing that to another service?
So great question. So we actually will be outsourcing it. There's a company here that we're currently working with called Food for Fitness. They have the platform and everything built out. So, my ideal partnership with that is that they're going to be kind of taking care of what they would call, I guess, the last mile. So for us, we're just managing the customers and the expectations on our end, and then they're doing the cooking, the packaging, the shipping, all that stuff. So they have a professional chef on staff, and they've been doing this for a while, so they have everything dialed in with. So it's a great partnership to allow us to just kind of flip on the switch and go right when it makes sense. So our dietitians, and we have one of our early people is used to be executive chef for Breaker International Macaroni Grill, so he has a lot of experience in this space as it relates to food. So they're working together to build out the different stages of meals.
Perfect. Awesome. And Rupert just he says, nice presentation. He has a couple of pointers there. So maybe download the chat, but basically just about being a little more concise in some of the slides. But otherwise, he really enjoyed your presentation. And Tammy's question is, does your app have any competitors? Anyone else out there doing this?
Yeah, so there is not, from my understanding. There's been some clinical attempts, I guess, coming from the doctor side, trying to make, some different resources, but there's, nothing, specific in the kidney disease space. And that was one of the reasons why I started it, because I couldn't find any resources to help myself. It's just all these different places like the Kidney Disease Foundation website and this and all these group chats, and I'm just kind of left trying to figure it out. So as of right now, I am not aware, and and talking with companies like DaVita and Fresenius that are constantly looking for this type of technology, feedback from them that there isn't something like this that exists either. So so as of right now, I'm kind of creating the market, I guess you can say.
There you go. Exciting trailblazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Miranda, you have a question.
I do, and I hope it's okay to verbally speak the question instead
Of course. Yes.
I really like the presentation. I haven't seen anything about the kidney and renal. One of the things that popped up, I'm plant-based, and I saw immediately that the food was not. And so if there isn't, I would suggest adding a vegan option, because you're kind of, for the monetization later, don't know that they would be willing to pay that much money to exclude that portion of it that could benefit them. I like the health tracking. Does the app allow a printout of a report that they could take to their doctor with them?
Yes, so that's one of the most important features, I think, for our app is, for my experience, I go to the ER, and, and the ERs and different doctors don't have a lot of experience in renal. So they're trying to, you're teaching the ER doctor about kidney disease as you sit there trying to get help, right? So as far as that feature, there is a, click and share where they can automatically share the information with their doctor, or they can pull it up on their phone, showing all their medications and stuff, as well as there's a side for the doctors to go in and link for their patients, so they can kind of see a real-time holistic view of what's going on with their patient.
I think that's a very valuable tool. And I think having those doctors who are going to come in and present, having them give feedback on the metadata of this is very valuable, this is not so much valuable, so it can be weighted as it's presented to the doctors would help also. But
yeah, that's a great recommendation. And I'm working with a big nephrology group called Capital Nephrology here, and we're kind of designing the platform based on what those doctors want to see. So that's great feedback. Thank you.
yeah, a great presentation. Good luck.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Eric, the writer in our group here, the wordsmith, he caught a couple of just quick typos.
Okay.
On one of the slides. Although I have to ask you if one of these is a typo, because I saw this too, and I wasn't sure. There's a slide 14 that says KidneyPay instead of KidneyPal.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought you were starting your new payment service for people with renal challenges. I thought, what a great idea.
Cryptocurrency, kidney pay.
Hey, I'm just saying, some accidents happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something there with KidneyPay.
Yeah, I probably just, being the man with a million hats, just probably overlooked it. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
And I have a question about,
sure.
You said something interesting. You said one of the ways we can help people is, help them with their diet, their food. But the other thing that causes a lot of kidney issues is hypertension and stress. And we can't help there, but I want to challenge that. Isn't there, I've seen services out there, especially apps that help people reduce their stress, help people meditate, calm down, start to manage that level of unnatural hypertension, let's call it, or so I don't know have you thought about maybe incorporating that as well and starting to bring some of that other half of it in?
That's a great question. So yes, I guess that's kind of short-sighted on my end. I always kind of look at it as like, the chaos of daily life. There's only so much I can do to, help you manage that. But our actual, one of the, candidates for CTO, he actually was part of a company called Cordeco, I think that's how it's pronounced, but they developed apps for first responders, so doctors, firefighters and stuff, to help them with mental health issues and to minimize suicides. So that was actually acquired. So, that is a very good point that, maybe we can kind of integrate that technology and, figure out ways to help people de-stress, and feel comfortable. So, I mean, I guess there's a lot of ways that they can do that through our community, but I haven't specifically developed technology geared towards that.
Okay. Maybe even if you just take something that's very common and brand it under KidneyPal, so this way it's easily accessible.
Yeah, like with a partnership, maybe with Calm or something like that, to at least get full access, right? So
yeah, exactly. And then that could be another form of monetization. That's an added value, and it's just, again, another collaboration. So Sean's asking about contact info. I don't recall if you had contact info in your slides. Or
it was on the chat. It is on the last screen here, and then I'll just put my email address here in the chat.
Are there any HIPAA concerns here? You're talking about, this is kind of like borderline the medical side, and you're not maybe collecting specific medical data, but you've got this database of people that mostly probably have renal disease of some sort or concerns.
Yeah. So there is, it's kind of borderline, right? Like you said. So when you collect like the tracking data and stuff, that's not really considered health information, but long term, I mean, even right now, the way that we're building it, we're, being HIPAA compliant, we're on the AWS cloud, and they're, that's one aspect of benefit, I guess you can say, for them, is they're within the HIPAA compliance. But I mean, everything that we're doing is built around protecting people's privacy and their health information. So as we further develop, I mean, that's something we definitely keep in the forefront of our mind.
Good. I'm glad you're doing that, because I still think that's going to be, privacy is going to be important, even if it's not legally compliant, or it needs to legal compliance. It's still, people are going to feel a lot safer.
I mean, I don't want my information all over the internet. So I always kind of go in this with what I would want, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Nice. So you mentioned on your marketing push, you have a podcast that's helping you with that. You're reaching out to Facebook groups. Anything else on your marketing
go to market
road plan, roadmap, let's say?
So I mean, luckily, I think, just based on what we're doing organically, we're going to be able to, I think, grow this pretty well, just because people are constantly searching. So any type of traditional strategy, I think I want to see how far we can go without dumping tons of money into Google ads and stuff like that. I think word of mouth is going to spread very quickly in this community, but I think the partnerships with like DaVita, having access to all their facilities, and it's like going straight to the spigot, right? And getting, access to your target client without having to really pay for anything is going to be a huge benefit. But we're looking at different strategies. I think for us, taking the inbound strategy of, through blogs and other, beneficial content to pull people in is going to be the most effective in this type of venture.
Nice. Well, for what it's worth, I agree with you that word of mouth is probably going to be one of your best things here. And if that's the case, I would recommend that you make it as easy as possible for people to share, because if I were to come down with kidney disease, the first thing I'm going to do, like you said, is I'm going to search out other people that are similar to me. And if you can make it easy for me to share KidneyPal, or incentivize me to share KidneyPal, or gamify it, make it so unbelievably easy that I almost have to talk about KidneyPal, then that should just catch on like wildfire. And I think that might be one of your best organic methods.
Thanks for the feedback. One thing that we did, based on prior feedback, is, from the caretaker side, because a lot of people have caregivers and stuff. So allowing people to buy memberships for their family members and stuff as well is kind of one thing that we're implementing. So.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I've got to send it over to Eric for our final question.
All right. Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Alan. One thing I would suggest, you can do direct mail. You can buy mailing lists that will identify people who have kidney disease, not necessarily because it's their medical information, but because maybe they pay for dialysis, or they buy a certain magazine. So that's something to look into. you can send postcards about the app out to, certain people, even specifying by age and possibly even phone ownership, what kind of phone they have.
Yeah, that's great recommendation.
But the final question is, what can we as a community do for you?
Yeah, so that's always a great question, right? So for I think how we're going to be able to really add the most value is, being able to make relationships with different individuals in the healthcare community, whether if it's insurance companies, healthcare providers. So that's, one area that we're always looking for introductions to people that might be able to either benefit from their patients or as well as, help spread the word. So, and then, we're always looking for great people to, join our team either as advisors or, like I said, we're still kind of going through looking for, co-founder, CTO type of a role. So if you know anybody that might be interested, please send them my way.
All right, perfect. And I know you put your email address, alan@kidneypal.com. I encourage everybody to put your contact information into the chat, and then everybody download the chat before we end this call, and you'll have everyone's information, including Alan's. So if you've got any questions or other advice for them, please do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I will share my screen one more time because I finally got what the logo meant last night, but we will hear from Rupert Meghnot of Burnout Game Ventures. He gave a presentation at a local entrepreneurial conference last month and got a big major award, and we're all proud of him. So I want him to talk about that a little bit. Rupert, tell us about the award and give us a presentation.
Yeah, thank you. The event was the Synapse Summit in Tampa, which is the largest entrepreneurial conference in Florida, if not the Southeast. Some people say, well, Art Basel or Emerge America is larger, but they're not strictly entrepreneurial related. And I was notified early February that we were a finalist or a semi-finalist, and out of 120 or so companies that were nominated in our category was entertainment innovation, and I think there was 12 other companies, and the other semi-finalist was Full Sail University, which I thought was ironic because I used to teach there. And so I got up on the stage in front of 5,600 people and at Amalie Arena and gave my 4-minute pitch, which I'm going to share with you. And we won. So I was, you could have knocked me over with a feather, but hey, it was definitely something that was very gratifying. And so, obviously I'm trying to milk it for all I can in the meantime. So if you guys don't mind, I humbly offer my presentation and, would welcome any feedback or questions. So I share my screen, is that it?
Yes.
Keynote share. Okay. I want to hit play.
Perfect.
All righty. Okay, so contrary to popular belief, innovation is not driven by money, it's driven by necessity. This isn't to solve a problem, any creative can do that. True innovation comes from transforming how we do things, especially the status quo. We intend to transform the $180 billion video game industry. My name is Rupert Meghnot, and I am the founder of Burnout Game Ventures, where we ensure creators of virtual worlds are successful in the real world. Our investors, large advisor and talent pools, and many industry insiders believe that we have cracked the code in fixing the economic and product pipeline inequities that persist in our industry. For example, 3% of publishers generate 94% of the revenues. At least the 6% left represents a market of $10.5 billion, of which our goal is 10%. Oh, and 85% of the games that they publish are sequels. But we know from such massive home runs as Minecraft, Candy Crush, Angry Birds, and many others, that the 3 billion gamers in the world crave original content. Fortunately, 80% of game developers are independent or indie and offer an inexhaustible supply. The problem is that they have a 95% failure rate to break even. Why? Because they just don't know how to make a business out of their game idea. You know, and they focus on making games they want to sell, not necessarily what products people want to buy. They don't plan, so their scope, their schedule, marketing, all those things go out the window. And even if they do make a great game, who's going to know? Does that sound familiar to anyone? I'm sure it does. Let me tell you of our innovation. BGV is a game publisher with a twist. More of a venture builder, we accelerate game startups into sustainable high growth businesses, sharing in the revenues generated by the distribution of their products, which we publish. Our proprietary model teaches them how to fish in the high risk ocean of business and how to make products better, faster, cheaper. Know that the median indie game takes 2 to 4 years to develop, costs nearly $750,000, and garners less than 22,000 installs in its lifetime. Our games have been completed in 6-month dev cycles, garnered over 200,000 customers, all for 14% of the cost. Many people call us the money ball of video games. Also consider that the average incubator and accelerator has a paltry 5% success rate. Can you imagine what this world would be like if that number was 10%, 20%, or even more? This is not rocket science. Entrepreneurs are failing because they're not being taught how to think like entrepreneurs, nor like project managers. This can be learned. Our proprietary education program does exactly that. Developed over decades of entrepreneurial and project management experience across many industries, the processes that we teach are applicable for any startup. Our 5-year goal is to graduate at least 30 of these companies, assuming an average of 30 people, each making 100,000 a year, not including, the home runs we know they're going to create. We'll be bringing in at least 100 million to Central Florida or any other community. These 500 to 1,000 people will be paying taxes, supporting local restaurants and businesses, and donating to any charity they wish without reservation. We call this economic development through game development, which we consider to be the pinnacle of social impact. Our large seasoned team of successful entrepreneurs has multiple exits. I have several and was named a 50 over 50 by the global game industry. Our model de-risks entrepreneurship and can be taught to anyone, and we are very scalable. Help us transform the video game industry and entrepreneurship through games. We are Burnout Game Ventures, and I hope we pass the audition.
Super nice. I love that tagline, by the way, ensuring creators of the virtual worlds are successful in the real world.
I think you came up with that, didn't you?
I thought that sounded familiar, but I wasn't sure. Maybe that's why I like it so much. I like always having those dichotomies where you play against, virtual versus real.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you gave this, this is the one that got you the award, correct?
Yep.
Very nice.
It was so sweet beating Full Sail. He turned around in a huff and walked off. I was like, see ya. But yeah, it was nice. And so there were 5 companies that were up for in each category. And so 5 of us won our innovation awards in our different industries. But yeah, it was interesting. It was fun. And of course, afterwards I was like mobbed by investors and other interested parties, including potential customers and clients. So that was gratifying as well.
Awesome. Eric's got a question about your business model. How do you make money beyond just getting investors? How does that work?
So we're a game publisher. So our model is basically I can pull it up right now. Share my screen. I'll show you. So our model is that these companies create games. We help them create games. We put them through our processes so they make these games better, faster, cheaper, and then we publish them. So they go on to platforms like Valve's Steam for PC, or Microsoft's Xbox, or Sony's PlayStation, or Apple's App Store, or Google Play, or Nintendo Switch, or whatever. There's over 50 platforms out there. And so we take those games and we publish them. First of all, we make sure that they're done right. Okay. And then we publish them, and then gamers, the 3 billion gamers in the world, hopefully a sufficient enough number of them will be exposed to the game, and they acquire the game. And typically, is for indie games, you just pay once and play forever. So they pay $1, $5, $10, $15, or whatever up front, and then they get all free updates and never have to worry about anything. No they're not burdened by microtransactions or forced into those things or anything like that. So we figured that the average game lifetime value is about $6.50, and average app is $8.25. So we figured that our lifetime value per customer would be just under $8. So the consumer goes purchases it from the distribution service. The distribution service takes typically their 30%, plus you've got chargebacks and you've got taxes and things like that. But 68% of the price that they pay for it gets deposited directly into our bank account. And so what we do then is 7% off the top goes straight to an investor pool. So the investors can, they see that and they're like ready to rock and roll. So we can, whenever we have a liquidity event, or we want to declare dividends or share in our royalties, which a number of our investors are on a royalty basis, then they get paid every month. And that's why 40% of our investors have reinvested. And then we have 50% of the money goes directly to the developers. And so the thing is when you have typically in the industry, an indie developer who sells their game, like, okay, so Chance Glasgow is on my advisory board, and he was the founding member of Infinity Ward, which created Call of Duty. And he's constantly looking for work. And I'm talking to him and his buddies, and I'm like, why aren't you guys all like multimillionaires? And it's because they got a lump sum of money, right, to sell the game, and they sold their IP. And so now they lost their IP and their creative freedom, and for 10% of the profits. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, we had a major expense, this unforeseen major expense this year, so profits aren't going to be what we anticipated, right? What we say is we're totally transparent. They have access to the same financial information as we. And so we just say, here, we get paid from the app store on the second day of the month, and 5 days later it's deposited, their share is deposited into their bank accounts. And so, if a game does 60,000 units a year, which is nothing, on a platform, everybody in the company, from the secretary to the developer and artist to the investor, they're all millionaires in a couple of years. And and then so that's that's the whole idea.
Yeah, profit share. I'm not, it sounds good until you realize that the company suddenly become nonprofits. Hey, sorry, we didn't make any money this year, so you get nothing.
Exactly.
Definitely a revenue share is a much nicer model for what you're doing. So what determines when a person's ready to work with your company? So they already have to have the game designed and kind of initial launch, or can someone come in fresh just with the idea and use your game designers or?
Well, as we all know, ideas are a million a dozen, and or a dime a dozen. And it's like, so what we do is like, we have over 150 in the queue right now, just people that just come to our website and apply to have their game published. We prefer that they have at least a playable prototype that we can play and we can look at it. It doesn't have to be complete. It's, in fact, a playable prototype is, not by a long shot complete, but at least we get to see the art style, we get to see the gameplay, the originality, and so forth. And so we look at those things, but more importantly, we look at whether or not they're entrepreneurial, right? creativity is one thing, but do they really have the initiative that we need? Do they have the risk tolerance that we need? And do they have the resilience that we require? And then, of course, are they coachable, right? Because if they're not coachable, if they're divas about it, then I'm just going to, have a nice day, right? Because, when the guy who designed Assassin's Creed tells them, that they need to change a color of something or change a mechanic of something like that, they better listen. Not that we're taking over their creative freedom, they still have 95% of it, but just like I said, we're here to help them make a game that's going to sell a lot more and get a lot of players.
Yeah. It's got to be more about the game and less about them and their ego, essentially.
It's 50-50.
50, well, all right.
Yeah, it's 50.
Or at least a balance. All right.
Yeah.
At least a balance there.
Yeah.
So Vijay, you got your hand up?
Hey, Vijay.
Hey, Rupert, how are you?
Great, man.
Good, thanks. I'm sure you would have considered this. I just have a quick question. So have you considered like a partner model or not franchisee to that far, but a partner ambassador model where people who wanted to publish a game can be collected at one point and then they reach it to you?
Yeah, I mean, we have varying degrees, right? So some people will come to us with a playable prototype, other people will come to us with a totally finished game. And so, they're all client partners to us. And so we obviously have a different model with those people, but yeah, we're happy to, we don't take 50% of the revenues. We typically take anywhere from 20 to 40%, depending on, how much work we have to put into it and so forth. But yeah, I mean, we're open to pretty much every opportunity as long as they're coachable and entrepreneurial.
Gotcha. So yeah, I think that will fetch you a lot of the wedding process will happen at some point at that point, and then they'll come with a collection of games to you. So
you mean another publisher?
Yeah.
I'm happy to. I mean, 3 of my competitors, I've been in discussions with them about exactly that. So, okay. Yeah.
So that'll open up a lot of, you don't need to go behind single game publisher, rather a kind of a syndicate kind of thing, a partnership model around you. Right. So they can get a collaborator collected at some point, and then they can come to you with a bunch of games to publish.
Right. Yeah. Well, keep in mind too, that, I mean, within by the end of next year, assuming we acquire the funding that we're looking for, we'll have at least 30 products out. Okay. So, that's, in 5 years, we're looking at nearly 200 products.
Yeah, that's the question I had. It just came to my thought. I thought I'll share and ask.
No problem, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. So Rupert, your expertise is project management, right? I mean,
yeah.
And background a little bit. So why did you decide to focus on games? What brought you into this particular industry to use your expertise in?
Well, the thing is, well, first of all, I've been in gaming since, my first project was in '89 doing a VR project for Martin Marietta. And I've had 15 businesses. I've had a few exits and a few failures, and yeah. So, and plus, you guys know I've mentored a lot of companies, and but I keep going back. So when I had my simulation business. I had developed flight simulators and all that, but I got into it through the gaming industry. Right, we were making full motion 2-seat interactive video games for arcades and theme parks and stuff. And then the military came calling because, we were doing better, faster, cheaper. And then eventually I was teaching at UCF entertainment technology, and then Full Sail was creating their game design master's program. And they asked me to help them. They saw what I did at Rosen, and I said, sure. So I taught project management I was teaching, I taught project management for the game design master's degree program, game production master's degree program there for over 6 years. And it's like, so that's one part of it. The other part is that, as a project manager, you have to, and an entrepreneur, you have to find the quickest path to profitability. Okay. What's quickest way to get there. And so having my experience in the game industry, and seeing that they had such a terrible success rate, much worse than the average startup, I figured they needed our help the most. So we laser focus on that. Once we get in the door there, then we can spread it to everyone else.
Awesome. And by the way, kudos on the slide, how you painted the vision at the end. That's something that's still resonating with me about how the economic impact in Central Florida and communities, people be able to give to their own, nonprofit of their choice, that kind of thing. I just want to say, I don't see enough people doing that in their presentations, really sharing the big dream, right? Because it's got to be bigger than the company. It's got to be bigger than you. So I see a lot of next steps, but I definitely love seeing the vision also on, paint that big vision. What's the big impact? How is this going to frickin' change and impact the world, not just your pocketbook and your industry? So
not in 10 years, not only do I want, 10% of that indie market, but I want to have 100 for-profit incubators around the world helping every startup.
There you go. Denny's got his hand raised. Denny, go ahead.
Rupert, what were the parameters of what you were supposed to talk about? Because I've got a feeling that people are very, very protective of their proprietary products, and they want to talk about their products. And you talked about how do you make money from this, which I think is much more important. Was that the
Sure.
advantage?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
What did they want you to talk about?
Well, this was an innovation pitch. It wasn't a business or capital pitch. Okay. So I was basically there to talk about our innovation and why we deserve that innovation award. Okay. My 5-minute short capital pitch has got a different swing on it. It's all geared towards the investor and how we make money and how they can make their money back. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Perfect. I'm going to send it over to Eric for our final question.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, Rupert, well done, and congratulations on the big win.
Thank you.
So you've heard me say it week after week. What can we as a community do for you?
Looking for capital. Basically, we have 10 investors, and as I mentioned, 40% of them are reinvested. And we're getting ready to do a crowdfunding campaign as well. And yeah, so we really could use the community's backing, financially and moving forward. So the sooner we can get that going, the sooner we can start pumping out entrepreneurs and making successful companies and adding to and raising all the ships in the community.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And again, congratulations. Alan, thank you for coming all the way from California. Rupert, Miranda has a question for you. If either of you can drop your contact information in the chat, you can answer that. Maybe Miranda's got a couple ideas in the lead. But anyway, I wanted to say thank you, everybody, for coming. And we have, Josh, can you remind me of who the speaker is next week?
Yes, we have Clean Earth Rovers.
Clean Earth Rovers. If you've heard of the Dutch teenager a few years ago who created a plastic eating machine for oceans, Clean Earth Ventures has done that for lakes. And they're based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm looking forward to hearing them speak. And so hopefully you can come back for that and learn more about what they're doing, how they are cleaning up lakes, and I think even rivers. And so we'll connect, we'll grow, we'll add more people to the group, and we will, like Rupert said, we will raise all boats. So thank you for coming, and I will see you all in 7 days.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great week.
And Miranda, thanks for coming from Tampa too.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah,
Could make it.
and yeah, just reach out to me at that email address.
Will do.
Happy to chat.
All right.
Okay. Take care, guys.
See ya.
See you, Vijay.
Great job, everybody.
Yep,
All
you
right.
too.